All right, what is going on, guys? This is like the third time trying to film this intro, but I'm here today with my good friend Mark. Today we're going to be building out a app with Lovable. So Mark is one of my good friends in the AI space. He's got an awesome YouTube channel, technical genius, I would say, compared to myself. So it'll be nice having a little bit more of that kind of technical help on this video. Mark's got like the IQ of like higher than anybody I know, so. So I hope he could help us break down some complex things on this video. So we're basically going to be building an app with Lovable and just kind of shooting the shit and kind of just starting from scratch essentially and trying to make something functional, something where we could actually accept Stripe payments and kind of just launch this as a full SaaS. That's kind of the goal for this. So yeah, Mark, I'm stoked to have you. I think this will be fun.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And just for the audience, he's overhyped me on every single category possible. IQ is very similar to a pebble, but I just keep going very, very hard on these apps on Bolt and Lovable. Sometimes it takes some love to get the prompts in order, but over time you get a pattern. So I'm pumped to build this with you today.
Yeah, 100%. And for the audience, I mean, this might not be a perfect build. This is something we're going to try to do in under an hour, trying to keep this as raw and uncut as possible. So just bear with us, but this will be a good test to see kind of what you could build with these platforms. So yeah, let's hop in. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have Mark share his screen and we're gonna build on his side of things. I'll give my inputs and kind of just game plan and work together here.
Perfect. So let me share my screen here. We're gonna pull up a brand new page, and Brock, you're the boss. So what are we cooking up today?
Yeah, I mean, let's think. We've talked a little bit before this video, right? And we kind of game planned what we should build, and we both tried to build an app for New Year's resolutioners, right? It's like the end of the year, we're going into 2025, and like everybody wants to kind of make 2025 our year. So let's build an app, kind of where we're just, I don't know, typing in what we want our 2025 to look like, our New Year's resolution, something like that. And then also, I think it'd be cool to make some form of matchmaking where we could match certain people with like-minded goals. And I think it'd be cool to like build almost like a social app like that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, matchmaking, goal setting. That's very thematic, New Year's theme. So what other elements? Because the reason why I'm asking you this is I like to create a little checklist before I even start about like what my ideal vision is. And
Yeah.
you work from the outside in, meaning you don't worry about the integration and the functionality from the get-go. You worry about building the shell, and then you work your way into the actual functionality. So what else is, do you have a color profile in mind, a site you're trying to replicate?
That's a great question. Let's see. I don't know. I want something kind of sleek. Like, I don't know if I necessarily have any, add some, tones of gradient. Like, I think as far
Gradient.
as that, I don't
Okay.
know. Just start with that and go from there.
Okay. Cool.
As for functionality, matchmaking, goal setting, yeah, New Year's resolution.
Okay. Gotcha. New Year resolutions. Done. So what I like to do is I used to sit down and write very like bespoke prompts myself, but what I like to do is more lazy mode now. And I
Mm,
say, you are a prompt engineer. Um, can you put together an instructive prompt in a code block? And the reason why I'm saying instructive is I want it to be as if like I'm giving the command to Lovable. It's going to write it in
yeah,
a way that's more commanding. Code
right.
block that lists the functionalities I'm looking for in numbered sequence format. Excuse the spelling format. So I'm just going to take what you just said here, all right, and I'll say it's basically a New Year's resolution app that helps find others for accountability, put together a very concise and succinct prompt accordingly. So I'll just do something like this, and I'll let GPT do its thing. And you
Nice.
can see there, so you are designing a New Year's app that combines matchmaking and goal setting functionalities with sleek gradient tones. Create an app experience that includes the following. And this is where the whole number thing comes into play. And I get that from trying both Bolt and Lovable. You notice that at the very end, it kind of summarizes what it did in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I noticed when you feed it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's better at actually following that process.
Interesting.
So in the bottom thing here, the focus on user engagement, ease of use, yada, yada, yada. Ensure the design promotes motivation, collaboration. So we'll take this, and it'll be much smarter than what I was going to write, and then we'll send it over. And notice here that I'm not really talking about Supabase, integration, Stripe, any of that. We're just focused on, hey, here's the picture. Let's get to that part first.
Right, 100%. I guess while this is loading, what do you think is the biggest problem? What do you think that is the biggest reason people fail with building with apps like this? Is it because are they too nuanced with it, where they don't give as enough instruction, or are they being too particular about what they're trying to build? What do you think you've seen?
So the biggest thing that I noticed is that when you get certain types of errors and it says, hey, you want to fix this? And you click it 3 times, you assume that every single time it hasn't fixed it, that it's made no progress. Whereas if you go in like the logs of what's happening in the code, it did make progress. There's just more errors to go. So sometimes the 4th time is the charm. Sometimes the 5th time is the charm.
67 times the charm.
Well, at that point, once you get to like 7 to 10, there might be something fundamentally wrong with your concept, or there's something like you're asking that's way too much outside of its comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%. Interesting. This actually looks pretty cool, honestly.
Yes,
so far. I mean, sure, we'll make some switch ups, but
yeah, you see a little gradient here. It's a little moving, little button.
Nice. It listened to us. Let's go.
Yeah, run a marathon, learn Spanish, update progress. So this is, again, like I said, a shell. There's no functionality whatsoever, but it gives us something to start with. And one thing you notice is some fake avatars. What it's doing behind the scenes is it's drawing these images from something called Unsplash, which is basically like an open database of images that are royalty free. So there's probably some form of connection to an API where it just said person, and then it pulled those into our app here. So just a little debrief for the audience.
Yeah, nice.
So what's next?
One thing I want to say before this is, for the people watching this, a lot of you guys, I know this is as far as you've gotten with building your apps with Lovable or Bolt or all these platforms. It looks cool, like you kind of build a cool user interface, but there's no functionality to it. That's why we want to record this video, because I think we could dive pretty deep into this, even not having such a technical background, to where we could build a cool, database where we could actually match different users based on their, their specifications and their goals for 2025. Like, I think that's a pretty cool ass use case. So just want to let you guys know, it's not just going to be a, simple user interface like this. It's going to have cool functionality and whatnot. But back to what you were saying. Let's give this a name. Let's call this like Goal Buddy or something, and make, throw a logo up there just to get that out of the way.
So I'll say make these changes, and then let me just zoom in here for the audience just while I'm writing this, and then I'll zoom back out. So make these changes. Let's call it Goal Buddy and make it apparent on the site using a clean, sleek font. And then what else do you want to do?
Here, zoom out so I can see the app again.
Okay, let's do that.
Just a little bit, yeah. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the progress bar? To me, it's like, I don't know if we necessarily need to have a whole progress bar. That seems like it's just going to be a little bit too complex. I say we get rid of that. I think I like how it has like the name of the person and the profile picture. So, let's see.
So to me, like when you talk about name and profile picture, that's what happens when you do authentication. That's when you worry about that stuff. Right now, fundamentally, I assume you want to be able to write your goals in some way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Is the set your goals? Click on the set your goals button. Does that work, or is there no functionality there?
Shell.
Okay. First of all, that's what I say we touch on that. Because that's obviously the main point of what we're trying to build here. So,
So what I'll say is I'll zoom back in, and I'll say scratch out the progress bar cards. We just want to be able to click on, and I like to put it in little single quotes. It helps it differentiate what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Set your goals, and when this is clicked, it should reveal a large text input bar that looks futuristic, and I'm just going to put that in here to emphasize style. That allows me to enter new goals and or resolutions, and then displays them after I submit. So the reason it's very important to understand kind of how I'm wording this. I'm giving it not only expectation of what it should look like, but also of expected behavior, what it should do, and what is the final result, or what's the follow through. When I actually click the
Mm,
thing, I want it to actually show on the actual website.
right.
So let's submit this, and we'll zoom back out, reset, and then we'll wait for this to load up.
All right. So what's it doing right now on the back? Like, because I see it's loading. What's that doing right there?
So you can actually click on it, and you can
Yeah.
spy what it's doing. So a lot of these apps, both Bolt and Lovable, use something called TypeScript to create these applications. It's basically writing and editing its code. You can see here, it's really cool. It shows you the red is what was before, and the green is what's after. So green is what it's now changed the code to be. And you can see that net positive, we've added more code, which makes sense because we're adding more functionality.
Right.
So if we go back and click on exit, you can see now we have those two cards at the bottom. And now
Mm,
when we click set your goals, we can now, it has a little futuristic thing.
nice.
It's so gradient, it's
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 kind of
almost,
hard to see.
it's
Yeah.
disappearing. Yeah, so we'll give that feedback later. So I'll
Yeah.
say to, oh, let me see, can I type here?
Is the text? Maybe the text is white
The
actually.
text, look, yeah, you're right.
Yep,
It
it's
is
white.
white.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. See,
So
that's the thing with these things. You know, you gotta. It's not gonna be perfect the first time using it. You got to give certain inputs and
yeah,
uh, iterations. Go from there.
so let's do this actually for the audience. So I'm going to hover over add goal because that seems to be why it's turning white. And I'm going to screenshot this behavior, and then I'm going to feed that screenshot as input. So I'm going to say changes, look at the screenshot. I can't see the text I've entered. And then two, when I hover over add goal, again, in little parentheses here, and let's just zoom in for you guys as well. Boom. The whole view slowly turns white. So I'll give that as an actual input, and I'll reset here. And then it should now take the image as input, because a lot of these large language models behind the scenes, the Claudes, the OpenAIs, are able to take an actual picture input, interpret it, and then inject that in the actual prompt.
Right. It's funny watching you prompt all this because it makes me realize how lazy I am with everything. I'm like, fix this. It doesn't look how I want it to. I'm like, I'm so, I'm just pampered with AI at this point that sometimes you forget you do need to put in a little bit of effort
Just a
into
little bit of work.
writing a prompt. Yeah. So I wonder if my audience could also identify with that. And
So now,
there we go. That looks good.
let's see here. Okay, to make better apps. And now my expected behavior is when I click on this add goal, that it displays it on screen. So there you go. It does
Okay.
display on screen. So that
Nice.
part's good. The one part where I'm still unhappy is this random fading out into the sunset thing. But
Yeah.
I can just say while we're thinking about this, remove the gradient effect completely, unless it's just the button itself. So this is where things can go off the chain. But what's the goal after this, Brock? What's the menu look like?
Let's see here. So your goals, should we add, I don't know, should we add some form of like categorization so that way, like for each user, if you, just for your own sake, you could go back and see, okay, what goals do I have for business? What do I have for personal development? That sort of stuff. I think it'd be cool to add little tags or something in order to categorize our thoughts and our goals, maybe.
Okay, so what kind of tags are you thinking? Because the way you want to tag it will be super important later on. So if we get it right at the beginning, it'll be less of a mess.
Yeah, so I think it'd be cool to actually have some form of AI aspect that kind of auto analyzes each of our goals and then adds a certain categorization to it. Because we could just make it easy where you have the user having they have to add a tag to each of their goals or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool if we could add an AI element if it's possible to auto categorize it.
What if on top of that, because you can see here the way I'm lazy with my goal, what if we could also enhance the goal to make it more measurable? So back when I was in business school, like
Yeah.
10 years ago, they said this thing called SMART goals, which is measurable, it's achievable, yada, yada, yada. We make it more targeted.
Right. 100%. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, so this one is going to need a bit more prompting love. So let's,
So you're saying you did learn something from business school?
a long time ago, maybe, in passing. In passing, barely though. Okay, so we say, I want to add functionality using the OpenAI API. And then I'll say, here is the list. And again, I love list format. It just seems to gel really well with the way these apps work. So number
Right.
one,
I've never played around with it like that, so I could see. I mean, it seems like it's already making a big difference so far.
yeah. So when a user enters a goal, offer them a button beneath the text bar that allows them to enhance their goal to be more smart. And it will know what smart is. So measurable and achievable. So it's not a vague goal. Number two, I want OpenAI to auto categorize with a tag what is the best category for said goal. And I'll give an example, e.g., personal development. What the plan is here is inevitably one thing that's really good about Lovable versus Bolt is sometimes Bolt just tries to implement OpenAI and says, oops, didn't work. And then you go and figure out you have to give it an API key. With Lovable, usually it will provoke you and say, hey, seems like we need to use an API key. Here's a little box to actually enter it securely. So
And it's important to only enter it in that box because people like where it says ask Lovable down there, you don't want to put your API keys in there because people could go back and see all this information. So as long as it's inside of that where it says please input API key here, make sure you only put it there because I've almost ran into that issue and that I just hate for somebody to screw themselves by doing that.
Yeah, and while this is actually loading, I think it's worth showing the audience just to double check. So if you're not paying for a premium account and you're on a starter account, everything you do is public. Meaning if I go to latest, theoretically I can go to someone's project and if I'm a bad guy, I can go through history and I can see if they entered directly their API keys. So really important that you avoid doing that because if you are on a starter plan or you make it accidentally public, you might rack up a bill you're not expecting on racking up. So
Yeah, 100%.
yeah. So here,
So far, this looks cool. I like the way this looks.
not bad. I have more of
Yeah.
a I have more critiques, but we'll get there. So we'll be
Yeah.
using the OpenAI API, yada yada yada. Since this project isn't connected to Supabase, I'll implement a temporary solution where users can input their API key, but I recommend connecting it for better security. Okay. So if I click this now, okay. So
Okay. Interesting.
I want to say now I want to embed my API key within the application environment.
So essentially, what he's saying for you guys, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, you don't want to have to put your API key in the app local. Like you don't want to have to do that every single time you're trying to use the app. You want it to be stored in the back end because otherwise, it's just a pain to have to input your API key there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this would make sense if you want to offer like a free app to people where they can use the functionality and they use on their own dime and it's not a SaaS app. But ideally, it's not not the way to
Yeah.
go.
Great point.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, so it says, I noticed in the code, it already has an input field for the OpenAI index page, so no changes are needed. You can enter your key in the input field that appears after clicking set your goals. So I want to emphasize, let's zoom in. We want to remove the ability for the user to enter their own key. I want to use my key to power the whole application end to end. So you can see here, now it's smart enough to ask me to securely enter my key. And then just for the audience to understand, the reason why I wanted it to ask me versus me putting it in the chat is one, you don't want it to be in your chat history. That's no bueno. Number two, from a technical perspective, it's setting up what's called an environment variable where it's like, it's a stored variable that's called OpenAI key that somewhere is referencing this key very securely, where if someone uses the app, they can't even touch it. So that's kind of the ideal path here. So if I submit,
Oh, it's because you haven't connected Supabase.
okay, gotcha. So let's connect Supabase to make this. There we go. Let's do create new project, and then we'll call this NYE tester. All right, NYE tester, and we'll just use small. We don't need a very comprehensive database here. We'll create a password, so I'll call it NYE. Okay, and then we'll do create new project. This will take anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute to set up. And once it's set up, it will just say complete, and you'll be able to see that you have a completely vanilla empty environment where now Lovable can start writing this code to create the databases that you need depending on the application.
Right. And essentially what Supabase is, it's the back end. That's where all of our databases are stored. This is how we create user logins. This is how we authenticate when a user tries to log in to make sure it's a pre-existing account, all this stuff. So kind of there's a bit more that we could go into, but it's essentially just the back end to our application. Lovable makes it extremely easy to integrate this. It even could write like SQL command code, which I don't even necessarily know what that is, but you could in the Lovable chat say, hey, build me something where I store information here. It'll write that code and then run it in Supabase to actually set this stuff up for you, which is
exactly
awesome for a non-technical person like me. So
yeah, exactly. So if you go to table editor right now, you're going to see it's completely empty. And if you did create new table, you could use code, you could manually do it, but
set it up yeah.
So now that I created that new project, let's do NYE tester. We'll click on connect. Okay. And then I should be able to add the key after it's done. So let's wait for that. All right. So now it says your app is connected to Supabase. So if I go back up here and enter back my key, there we go. API key added successfully. So that's all good to go. One thing to note is when it's still loading, let's say you're doing something related to setting up a database and you accidentally re-click the option over and over again, you can sometimes cause it to malfunction. So just if you see this little waiting option, just wait for it to do its thing until it lets you know it's done. All right, so you can see here it's put everything together. So now if we click on set your goals, and I say something very lazy like I want to be like my friend Brock, and I click make goal smart.
I forgot we added that.
Oh. Inevitable error. So I like to actually see what the error is, even if you are not code literate, just to see even plain English what's happening. So something on some API thing, it's not no bueno. So I'll just say fix the error when I click make goal smart. Seems like OpenAI thing is not working. I'm trying my best to act like I have no idea what it is.
Oh man, that's funny.
It's an inevitable part of the process.
An OpenAI thing.
Okay, so let's try this again. Let's do this. I want to be like Brock. And then if I click on make goal, it said enhancing for a second, and then gave me the same error. One thing I like to do is if you open this up in a brand new tab, you can use something that's called developer tools. It can give you some more feedback as to exactly what might be going wrong in the back end. So if I go on here, this is on Google Chrome, by the way. Every browser will have its version. And you go on more tools, and you go on developer tools, and you go on console. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to repeat this, knowing it's going to fail. I want to be like my friend Brock. And I click on make goal smart. You can see here I get a detailed error. So type error, failed to fetch whatever this thing. So it's very similar to the one it identified. So I like to sometimes take this. Here's the error. I need you, and I'll zoom in here for you. I need you to fix. One word I like to use is ruminate. Ruminate's actually a very heavy word for LLMs. It means like don't just like reflect, like think deeply. So ruminate on perhaps re-implementing OpenAI to get this to work. And I like to put in double quotes errors just so it knows it's not a part of my message. Because at the end of the day, these things aren't brilliant. They are language models, meaning they're expecting input and they predict what your output is going to be. So you can see here, like completely revamped. So it knows to be more drastic action versus just like please fix a million times.
Right. Interesting. See, these are little hacks that I just like don't even know of. That's why if you don't already subscribe to Mark, you need to, because this dude's just like, I mean, I don't know. I could keep hyping him up, but he's got some tips and tricks that I swear are just like,
All right, so let me see here before I act all smart. Yep, see.
All right, so if this is to work properly, it will actually remove what you say because it's not smart to want to be like me. So that's That's the trick question there.
Yeah, so this is the same error. So
All right, so we just took like the extra 2 minutes to kind of fix this issue with the API key. It was just something kind of on our end of things, but let's go ahead and test it out and see if it's working now.
yeah, just for the audience, pretty much the very first thing we had to do was I realized that for some reason, Supabase made up a key for me in the actual secrets for my OpenAI key that was made up. It was not mine. So I went to Edge Functions, Manage Secrets, and this is all blurred out, but you can see this OpenAI underscore key. I had to delete this and re-add the actual one. So that was step one. And then all I did, and this is one of my other little tricks up my sleeve, is sometimes I ask a question to the app, and in trying to answer that question, sometimes it figures it out because it actually forces it to think of the answer. So it is still having an issue, seems to be on the HTTP request side. And how did I know that? Not because I'm brilliant. It's more so when it gave me the error, it literally says HTTP something. So I just said, okay, an issue with HTTP. So once that resolved, if I zoom back out here just a tad, and we put something like, again, I want to be like my YouTuber friend Brock. He's so cool. And you make this a SMART goal. It'll now say, by the end of the next 6 months, I will create one video per week that showcases my unique style, interests, aiming to, and I'd imagine it's something related to Brock, aiming to get 100 subscribers inspired by my friend Brock's successful content. So now you can see here,
Damn, nice.
it's much more targeted. And if you click
Yeah.
add goal, this is the moment of truth. So you can see here, using OpenAI also,
Oh shit.
it tagged it in real time. Now,
Yeah.
one thing for me that I don't like is this is kind of ugly to put it in quotes. So for me, I'd want to screenshot this and say, I like to give it some good positive feedback. Good job. It works now. Can we remove the SMART goal prefix as well as the double quotes on the messages? Look kind of ugly. And then I'll say, can we also get the ability to delete any goals we add? So now, because this is hooked up to Supabase, the database, typically, like to enable deletion or addition, you need to be able to write to that database that you're writing something, and then go to a row in that database and delete it. So it's smart enough to understand that, okay, this is the follow through from that very vague description.
Right. And then if we didn't have that functionality, right, we'd have to go in and do that ourselves, which somebody that has no experience of using Supabase, like I wouldn't be able to figure that out unless I spent hours trying to figure that out.
Correct.
I'd assume, but I don't even really know that when I'm playing around with Lovable, because it's like it makes it a lot of times it makes some certain things so seamless, and I don't realize it's actually doing things on the back end till I go into there and I'm like, oh, what is this database they added? Like I just just stuff that's already over my head that it's cool to see that it's able to do that I don't even necessarily see.
Yeah, everything's smooth sailing and honeymoon phase until things go wrong, and then you
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
then you need to go into the plumbing, right? So,
Yep.
so let's try this again. I want to be better at prompting, right? And you say make goal smart. Hopefully, now it's edited its prompt. So you can see here, now we don't get that SMART goal ugliness. You get this prompting skills, blah, 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 blah. And it looks normal. It doesn't have those quotes. So I listened to that properly as well. And you can see here, now we have this little X button. My little test is if I delete this, does it work, right? And one thing that's important to note is we have not instructed at any point in Supabase, I want you to write something to the database or delete. So if I were to refresh this page, this should go away because there's nothing persisting. There's no history that's being actually stored at this level. So if I refresh, this should go away because it's not stored anywhere.
And we don't have any users to store it to anyways.
Exactly.
Which I guess brings us to the next part.
Exactly. So you want to move on? You want to build some authentication?
Yeah, I say we go straight to that.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's make it email pass just for simplicity reasons. So we'll zoom back in. All right. And we'll say, I want you to add email password authentication to this via Supabase and this is important because sometimes it does such a good job of being smart and saying, okay, what's name, what's email, what's password on sign up. Sometimes it's just email and password, which is not ideal because if you want to set up a user account and you don't have a name, then you're guaranteed you're not going to have something on the top right that's a profile that says Brock or your
Right.
email. So you're just saving steps by being more proactive.
Okay.
So I'll say key things. One, collect first, collect name, email, and then password on sign up. Two is this is a very important word. It's actually a very juicy word for the developer side, which is inherit, meaning whatever you entered with, inherit those features, inherit
Mm.
the name from sign up to be the displayed name once you log in on the top right hand side, and design it so you can edit your username whenever you want. And I'll say, again, I'm trying to be proactive. Leave a placeholder to be able to upload an image of yourself, should you wish to. And the last thing, allow users to log out. A lot of times you build an app on Bolt or Lovable, it lets you log in, you just can't leave, which is
Right.
not ideal. So with these, now we can send that over. And when you kind of jam in all the thematically similar pieces in one shot, you increase the likelihood of getting it because they're all kind of similar. So if you did log in and then you address log out 5 messages later, there might be some mismatch.
Interesting. Okay, that's good to know. Something to keep in mind as well, if we, I mean, for the sake of this video and just in general, if we want to add Stripe to our app to, to actually start making money from these applications we build, we need to have the user authentication set up. So I say we set this up, make sure everything's working smoothly. Go ahead, let's integrate Stripe and test it out, make sure that we could do that. And then I guess next what we'll have to do, maybe we'll do that before setting up Stripe, is setting up the algorithm to where we could actually match with certain users based on our goals for the year.
Yeah, and just for the audience, you don't have to understand what any of this means, but this is all just SQL code or database code. It's literally creating the table. You can see here, create table. Alter tables when you edit a table. So now it's adding some row level security, and it's creating what's called policies. Basically, like, what can this app do? So it says right here, users can insert their own profile. So, okay, it got that right. Users can update their profile, right? So that's where the updating username comes into play. And then the rest of this is avatars. You can see insert into means when you upload an image, it will insert that image into like some form of bucket where it's held to memory. So theoretically, it should be working as expected. And it also
Interesting.
says here you'll need to configure the site URL and redirect in your Supabase. And I'll say apply changes. And then I'll click on auth URL integration. And then it hasn't.
Oh, so is that gonna?
Go
Are we
ahead.
gonna have to deploy the app for that to get the certain site URL, or is that different?
No, so I think this is more so if you do forgot your password and you usually get like a confirmation email, you need to be
Oh,
able,
okay,
that clicking confirmation email has to go somewhere to let it know that it was confirmed.
got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So one thing here is if you do auth settings or auth URL, one thing that if you were in the case where someone wanted to forget their password and retrieve it, or they want to basically log in for the first time or sign up the first time, you can send a confirmation email. It does complicate things slightly because basically how it works is when you get that email from any provider that says confirm email, when you click that button, it has to send that confirmation somewhere that you clicked it. So you would have to go to Supabase and you'd have to go
Set all
to,
that up.
yeah, set all that up and go to the providers, etc., which you can do, right? So if you go to email, you can click on confirm email, etc., and then you'll have to worry about going to URL configuration so that when people click on confirm email, it goes somewhere, right? So for the purposes of this video, let's keep it simple, and we'll remove the confirm email by unclicking this, and then secure email change, we'll just unclick that. But theoretically, if you want to do a full production SaaS app, you would need that as an intermediary step. So let's go back, and let's try to sign up, and then I'm going to try using a pass here. So I was able to sign in.
Nice.
Step one. Cool. Now, did it listen on the ability to edit things? So let's click. So Mark, could I change this to Mark 1? Perfect. Okay.
Nice.
And now picture. Can I upload a picture? Okay. I mean, I'm just
Mm.
curious. What can I upload? So I was uploading a diagram here. Is it going to do anything? Or did I break it? So let's try one more time. Let's try it. Failed to upload avatar. So, all right. So it does work.
Looks just like you.
It's just very similar on a
Yeah.
good hair day, maybe. But now, if I upload a random image to this photo, you can see it shows up here, which is awesome. So we got that out of the way, and you'll see how Brock and I are breaking this down. We're going one step at a time from overall, we're working our way into more difficult functionality. So, what else is next, Brock?
Yeah, so I guess next up, what we need to do, let's add Stripe at the end. Let's not do that this second. I think what we should do now, let's add the matching of the profiles. So, kind of one of the main core functionalities of the app, like we want to be able to connect certain users with each other based on their goals. So, like how you and I met, we met because we were in a AI group chat, and now we're good friends.
Yeah.
If we could like kind of take that and put that into this app, that'd be sick. So just adding some way to match these users based on their interests and what they're looking to achieve in 2025.
Got it. So this is important to break down. When you have this idea, how do you break it down to what do you need in order to get that experience? So, step one, you need to be able to add your goals. Those goals need to be added to the database, right? Ideally, you want to search by tag of those goals to not get overcomplicated. So you start grouping goals by tag, and then we need some way that all those tags are set up by different users so that we can group them together, or at least recommend them together, right? So in this case, one thing I need to make sure of when I enter a goal, does it actually write to our database right now with these changes? If I say I want to be leaner, right? And let's add that as is, right? So health and fitness, right?
Nice.
Right. So what I want to do is to know whether or not this is working is one you could refresh. If it goes away, it's not in your database. But you can go to Supabase, go to table editor, and you can see here you have a table called profiles. So all I have here technically is just the URL of the image I uploaded, my username, but I don't actually have a table for anything. So this tells me if I refresh this page, this goes bye-bye, which is not
I forgot that we didn't add that.
right.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Right. So that's why it's good to like before you even do the thing, you start yelling at the tool. That's probably your fault. So if you go into here and we zoom in, let's say, all right, so now we want to set up the prerequisite elements in order to do matchmaking of profiles later on. And I just want to like pause here because what I'm doing is in a way I'm giving foreshadowing of what I want to be done in the future so that if it writes code in a certain way, the likelihood that it will work later will be better because it knows where I'm going, but it knows I don't want to do this now because we don't have the steps necessary to do this now. So we'll do that. And then I'll say one, store every goal by user account. And I'm saying that on purpose. That obviously, how can you match make if you don't know which goal goes with which users, right? So store every goal by user account. Store the actual goal entered along with the AI generated tag / categorization of said goal. And should we just start with that before we go more in depth?
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
So this
I like how you said that, where you want to set the infrastructure with that initial prompt, because otherwise, when you need to make changes later on, the code could be completely different. That's something I don't even think about when I'm using something like this. So that's why I'm happy I could bring you on, because I feel like that will help a bunch of people, honestly.
Yeah, it's only from battle scars that I know that. So you can see here, I did a bunch of mumbo jumbo. So in this case, it's creating a table, it's creating certain policies. But anyway, we can just remove that. We'll just click on apply changes. And it says applied successfully. All right, so this is the ultimate test here. One thing, again, these are all little things that add up. While I'm building, I like to always make sure that the things I've done before are not being overwritten. So I'm looking right now at the top right to make sure I still have a profile picture. Because sometimes these apps will focus so much on one goal and you're like 20 messages in that it forgot about this
Mm.
piece. So we'll click on set your goals and I'll say, again, I want to write better, whatever. And you click add goal. Let's add one more. I want to do more YouTube tutorials for people. Click add goal. Okay, so it has a pretty good matching skip system. So if I go back here and I
The
refresh,
fact that it does that so quick too blows my mind.
yeah. And if you go to goals, now you see this brand new table that was created called
Mm.
goals. And now if I refresh goals, is it being written to? Okay, so that doesn't look like it's being written to. When I enter a goal right now, it doesn't seem to be added. So what I like to do here in this case is I want to show, hey, I actually added goals on the UI, but there's some disconnect between the front end and the back end. So it's kind of like literally the most caveman way of saying on website no work, on database no table, right? So if you just enter this, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Let's try this again. Let's put something random. I want to eat better, and I'll click on add goal now. And now if I go back to goals and I refresh, oh, I saw a record, so that's a good sign. There we go.
Nice.
So now I want to make sure that we have the right records. So we
Mm.
have the ID, the user ID, and if you're non-technical and you're like, why do I care? Well, if it's not stored at the user ID level, how can we do matchmaking if the goals are not set at an individual account, right? Then you're just going to have a whole list of goals. You don't know whose goals is whose. So we have the original goal I entered, and we have, really important, the category, because this is what's going to help us group people by categories of those. So that's perfect. All right, so that's working, which is good. So now we don't have any other users, right? So how can we create goals if there are no other goals in the database? So I'm going to say, good job. This worked. Let's zoom in just a tad. All right, there you go. This worked. And I'll say, can you create 10 fake records with legit user IDs, goals, and categories? Because the next thing I'm going to ask you after this is to help us show users on the platform that can be grouped together by these tags. Make sure that you only use a finite label of tags. We don't want a lot of categories. Otherwise, there will be no matches. So now I want to really explain what I'm talking about here. So imagine OpenAI behind the scenes is just saying, all right, tag this with something in this format. And imagine every goal has its own wording for the tag. Then we might end up with a database with 1,000 different tags for similar things, and they'll never match. So we need to make sure that like it's only personal development, health and fitness, etc., so that we have a fixed number of categories, so that when we do
Mm.
matchmaking, there's a match. Otherwise, we'll go in endless loops and we'll think Lovable's not working, even though it's us that's not working properly.
Right.
So we'll send this, and now if it's smart, it should write some SQL code, and you should see some random fake names being displayed on the code where it's telling you it's inserting values.
There we go.
There you go. So now, again, let's try to zoom in just a tad. You can see here some random ID, some person named Sarah Chen, and this is the date. And then I want to make sure there's an actual goal. So you can see here, that's an ID. This is a fake goal. That's a tag. All right, so it's continuing with these tags, which is good. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that these tags are not similar to the ones we saw on the front end, where it was like health and fitness. So I just want to make sure that ideally it updated the set your goals to also tag it in the same way. Otherwise, again, we'll never find a match. Does that make sense?
Wait. Yeah, it makes sense. Scroll down real quick. Wait, hold up. Oh yeah, never mind. I thought I said fitness and health. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. How we need to make sure the tags are, matching on the front end and the back end.
Yeah, so step one, let's go back,
Okay, we'll
refresh.
see.
This should have at least 10 records now. Oh, sorry, 11 in total. Interesting. So let me.
Profile, maybe just profiles.
No, profiles is when you sign up. So goals is when
Oh,
you.
yep.
So did it ask you for permission to write this? Oh, that's why I'm a
Oh,
genius.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would only make sense. So all right, we got
Um,
an error, and this is one thing I referred to before. When you get this, try to fix. Only click it once. Don't click it infinite times. Otherwise, not so great things happen. All right, so we got an error here. We'll do try to fix, and I'm going to spy on our database to see did anything change. We still have those, so I think that's the error is stopping us from getting there.
do you think it's because they're trying to save the categories with the wrong,
Well,
like since the
yeah,
categories aren't matched,
yeah. So I think here it's trying to create these fake users. Like they're trying to create a profile as if they did sign up, right, to the
but they
platform.
haven't signed up?
They haven't.
Hmm.
And then they're trying to insert some random names and then insert some random goals. And it looks like you see how these things are the same? It's
Yeah.
almost like a
Oh,
duplicate.
yeah.
I think
Right.
storing 2 goals per fake person because we have,
Okay.
I mean, 4 people or 5 people and we have all like many goals,
Yep.
right? So apply changes. And like I said, oh, this time successfully. So if this is successful, there has to be people here. Otherwise, it's going haywire. There we go.
Nice.
So this this gels, and they should have profiles as fake users. Yep, they do. And naturally, they don't have an avatar, but they have a name. All right, so that's good. That's all good. So this is the ultimate test now. So if I add set your goal, and I say I want to be nicer, I click add goal. Right, so now it's relationships. That's cool. If I say, let's try something health related. I want to bench press 450 pounds. That's an actual goal. So you can see here, health and fitness. That's not going to gel. So now that's kind of my fears that I was suspecting are being realized. So make sure that that when, and let's zoom in, when I add a new goal, the underlying prompt for OpenAI also only tags the goals using the same categories you came up with for the fake profiles. We need consistency, otherwise, we'll never be able to match people. So I like to give the extra rationale too, because sometimes we just say bad dog or bad. It's like, okay, bad, but why? Like, why is it bad? I assume it's
Right.
bad, but yeah.
Yeah. If it fixes this, it should be able to work pretty smoothly, I'd assume.
Yeah, and the best things is we'll do something health and fitness and we'll do something personal development so that like we can basically bait it to make that mistake.
Did it? I think it looks like it loaded. Maybe.
Well, let's see.
Yeah.
All right, let's try this. I want to lose weight and then add goal. Okay, fitness. I want to be a better thinker, whatever that means. I just want it to be something. Okay, learning. I want to think harder. Wellness. Okay, so now the whole 2 word thing is working, but I just want to make sure we're not getting infinite things here.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're
So
saying.
I want to eat more lettuce. So this should be wellness. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Last thing is I want to run a half marathon. This should be only fitness if we're sticking.
Yeah.
All right.
You
Perfect.
and everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So what I want to do is, because these are going to be useless to us, where's our delete button?
Oh, it looks like.
So it looks like it's
The
white.
UI.
It's all
Yeah.
white. Yeah. So if I click on this one, I'm guessing where the X is. Yeah, let me see here. If I yeah, nada, or has it changed the way it wants me to interact with it? No. Oh, okay. So I'll just say it worked. The X on the delete for the cards of the goals is not working or is not appearing. It's really important to not say not working, not appearing. Can you make it much more visible? And I like to say this thing playfully designed. Playfully designed gives it just more of an easier, cleaner look. And playfully designed so it's easier on the eye. Butchered that spelling, but it should still make sense. If we go back to the database here, we should have many more things written in. So we should have more than those 12 records. You can see here, those are the ones we
Nice.
just added. And what I also want to check is we don't have the old ones, right? So we don't have the health and fitness ones anymore. So we should be in the clear to go to the next section here. So now we've synced the fake people with the real people. And the next step will be, can we do this matchmaking? After I make sure this is all good. So you can see here now, when you hover over,
Nice.
you get a little twisty little square when you hover over. So that's the playful element that I was talking about. Something
Mm.
a bit cute, right? So this is the moment where we have to craft our words really well. So what's the goal, Brock? I'm making assumptions right now. So what's the picture here?
Yeah, so I mean, you guys high level the goal is to obviously match people. If you're say your goal is to eat lettuce and the other person, wants to do something other that's something else that's something wellness related, we want to match those two people together. So let's think, how do we want that to appear? Do we want it to appear that their profile shows when somebody else has a related kind of matchmaking category there?
Might get complicated. So what I would do is I would say make a card, like a filtering card section of the UI where you can filter by category. And when you click on it, you'll see the people that
Ah,
have goals in that category and what those goals are.
yeah, smart. I like that idea.
All right, cool. So let's do this worked as well. Thanks. Now, here comes the feature I truly need you to ruminate on, as it needs both some design expertise as well as some engineering prowess. And I like to little hype it up a little bit for the thing I'm about to do, so it increases the likelihood it takes it more seriously. So, one, I want to display a card, a set of cards at the top of the UI that let us click on said cards in brackets, which are all of our predefined categories, and then displays any user that has a goal associated to said category. And then this is where I'm going to go a little bit fancy. E.g., I should see, and let's go to the database, and let's pull out some user here. James Wilson, what's his ID? It's A4, whatever. It's A4, so it's this one. So for what's his name? James Wilson. All right, for James Wilson, I should see James Wilson under the career category with his name, a fake profile picture, and his goal. Two, I want to be able to visually add these people under these categories into a short list of a community I want to set up. So basically, A, show profile with name and goal. B, allow me to hover and invite me to add them to a shortlist, populate a shortlist which is blank by default on my screen with the list of users I select. And then this is very important, right? Because every new feature we add, it has to be stored somewhere. Otherwise, when we refresh, it goes away. Make sure this is also added to our database. So that was my best attempt to articulate as much as possible, accounting for the fact that the more things you add that you want it to remember, the more it needs to store. So it says inserted some fake users, which wasn't the goal, but let's see what it did. So I definitely expect on the bigger things here we're gonna get an error. But let me see, is any progress been made? Nothing. Okay, let's do try preview. All right, so it says it did stuff with the category filter cards, user cards with profile pictures. However, unless I can't see something, we have the recommended partners from before, which is fine. Let me just try enter a new goal. Cry. Right, and I click on this. So I don't see those cards. So where are the category filter cards that I can click on with all this functionality you said you did? So again, asking it a question, catching it cold on its feet.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
I think it's because look at the last message Lovable saying. It said, now can I proceed with implementing the feature? Would you like me to implement the UI components? Because I think you only implemented the backend components.
You are correct. Thank you, sir. That's why you need someone looking over your shoulder sometimes. There you go. So
I'm proud that I caught that. I'm
I
not
am
going to lie.
proud of you. See, that's what I told you. IQ of a pebble. Yeah. So you can see here, if we go down. All right. So we'll wait, and this will
So I guess that
hopefully.
brings up a good point. Sometimes with Lovable in the chat, you'll like it'll ask, should I do this? And sometimes it's important to look at the last couple lines in whatever paragraph or message it sends, because it'll ask for permission to actually do something. And sometimes it'll know what to do, but just needs your permission to do that. Which that's why we just ran into that issue, because we kind of overlooked that and like figured that it already did it. But so if something's not working, maybe just go back and look at your previous messages, and maybe that was a problem.
Yeah, maybe you were like Mark and you disregarded it. So now we have this thing that's all personal and professional. Now, I don't even ask for personal and professional, so I'm curious what that even means.
Right.
So personal, professional. So I don't see all this that I want. So let's try something. Above it said fake, so let's put fake profile. Remember when we did the fake profiles? It told me it did it by specific things like fitness and stuff.
Yeah.
So let me look for the message where it made that categorization. Okay. Oh, that was actually the last one. There we go. So it's fitness, learning, career, finance, and wellness, right? So I'll take these and I'll say, I should only see cards for these where when I click on them, I see the fake users profiles who have goals for said categories. And then in this case, I'm going to go here, right? I think that's good. Too many asterisks or quotes, but should work.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
Let me see. All right. So now, yeah, it has these little cards here, so that's good. It even went the extra step and put a little icon to make it look cute. So I click on fitness. I see mine, which is fine. If I see career, see, remember that guy, James Wilson? I should see that guy under here, but all I see are
Right.
mine. If I scroll down, did anything change? No. So, first of all, this is bothering me. We don't need this anymore. Take this out. And then let's screenshot this. One, remove the section in the image entirely. Not needed. Two, I don't want to just see my goals. I want to see others' goals under the cards I click on. Just give me a toggle to either see everyone, including me, or just everyone else. So in this case, I want a little filter because right now it's just focusing on us. I want it to also take all the other people into account as well.
Right. And one thing I'm wondering if we'll run into an issue is because it's only categorizing by the goal they put in. It's not categorizing by the profile that put that goal in. Do you see what I'm saying? Is that might present some issues?
Well, it's not by person. We made it simpler by category. So like if it was by person, it would need to look for
No, but you see what I'm saying? It only shows the goal that they put in that matches that category.
right,
When you're
not the
like,
associated person. Right, yeah.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so one thing at a time. If we can at least get like if you can get at least those goals in the list, that's one step removed from the name, which is fine.
Got it. Yep.
So now, if we this is all, if I go to career, I want to look for my boy here. He's not here. I can't see him. I can't see him. Right? So showing all goals, show other goals. So this has a toggle. So at least that is there. So that works, the filter. I can't here. I'll screenshot it. Let's see how we can talk to it. Let's go to profiles. And I'll screenshot this. And then I'll go here. And I'll paste it. I can see my goals, but no other profiles. We need to import all other profiles by name associated to the card as well as their goals. Right now, we can see neither. So hopefully me showing it, hey, don't forget, in Supabase, we have actual users that you
Right.
made. That's what we want to see for those specific goals. Okay, so now we're one step closer. So right now it's at least tagging who wrote what,
Right.
which is still
But
all
it's
me.
still only showing you. Yeah.
So it says here, I added profile, updated the Supabase query to include profile using a join. So in plain language, right? So when you go back to here and you refresh, now we have three tables. We have goals, we have profiles, and I created this thing called shortlisted connections, which is now set up on the back end, but doesn't exist on the front end. When you try to marry goals with profiles, you need to join on something, right? So that one thing is the ID, because this ID here, A4 for James Wilson, you'll see it again in the goals table, A4 for James Wilson. So that's how you connect things. So I'll say, despite you saying you joined profile and goals, I can't see anyone else's goals. For example, James Wilson should be under career. Review what has been entered in Supabase to resolve this.
Interesting.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, so the policy. So there is a policy. Policy is like rules, right? So for security reasons, you can't see other people's goals, which kind of makes sense. But for the purposes of this app that we're doing right now, we want to remove all security, and there's no privacy in this world. It's just a big brother society right now. So we want to remove that, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it says it's done a good job. I'll know immediately if I go to career. Hey, now we can see
He's there. Let's
our
go.
boy James and our friend Alex. And if we go to fitness, we see Sarah, we see Maria,
Nice.
and then Larry. Okay, amazing. So that's good. So, by the way, one thing that's super cool, especially if you're non-techie, is you accidentally learn about infrastructure by using these apps. So now, for example, let's say you're building an app and for some reason you hit a different issue, but it's related to you wanting to see something from other users. You now know that by default, there's security in place by default to make sure you can't see other people's stuff. So knowing that makes you smarter and not have to hit this wall over and over again if you know these different things that pop up continually.
100%. Yeah, that's something that I never would have. I mean, I never would have known or thought about until you like look in, you read that line. Oh, okay, that does make sense, I guess. But I guess sometimes you have to ask the right questions for even to be able to identify that, which is a tricky part. Like which I bet soon we'll be at a point where you don't need to ask the specific questions for it to find that. But like we would have kept hitting our heads over a wall on a wall trying to figure that out if you didn't ask the right question there.
Exactly. So one last thing I want to make sure. I like to make sure everything works before we keep adding on. So this is showing everything. If I click on others goals, okay, perfect. All I see is everyone that's not marked 1. So that's good. That's good.
Nice.
Good. Good. And that's good. So I love it. So we're making progress here. And now the one thing we're really missing is how can we add these folks to some form of shortlist so we can start to create that community. So this is going to be the next step. So let's zoom back in and I'll say, great. Now I want to be able to add whoever I wish by their card and add that contact to a shortlist section where we'll create a community out of that after. All right, so one thing I'll note is I saw before it created the shortlisted connection thing. So I'll be like, they should be stored in the, and I'll take the actual name, shortlisted connections. So I'll just copy this. There you go. Of Supabase. So I like to also spoon feed where I can, because why not let it do less work than more? So in this case, if you go to this, there we go. We'll zoom back out. All right, so now it says build unsuccessful, but I'm seeing some progress already. We have a connection section. So
Right.
again, I'll try to act like I have no idea what this is, and I'll click on try to fix. And then again, like, sometimes it might take 1, 2, 7 times to click to fix it. I'd say if you're getting the exact same copy paste error, then something is fundamentally going wrong.
Mm.
So one thing I like to do is also I like to screenshot these errors to keep track, are they changing or not? So yada yada yada, seems like it's working. So for me, I don't see any ad, but that's me. So if I click on Sarah Chen, I can't see a way I can easily add Sarah Chen. So wait, did it ask you permission to do the thing, or did it do the thing?
Is that what you just did before you asked? The error because there are multiple relationships between the profiles and shortlisted connections. Both user ID and shortlist reference the profiles table. We need to specify which relationship we want to use in our query. We're just like, I feel like we're kind of confusing it because we have multiple.
Now, I understand why the issue here is so because every person can have multiple goals, right? If we just had an add button on each card, like you could accidentally add 2 Marias, right? Or 3 Marks
Yeah,
because I have 3 goals associated in that
I
category.
see.
So it's a valid reason to be confused. So allow me to
Right.
easily add individual users, only loading them if they don't already exist in my shortlist. So no duplicates. So with that logic, let's zoom back in. Let's go back. Okay. So we should have an add to network or something button over each user unless they're already in our shortlist, in which case there is no button. So hopefully that makes more sense. And it did
Right.
humble us in terms of the confusing logic there. So the changes include this, this, and this, and this. Now, okay,
Look up. You see? Oh wait, no, never mind.
go ahead.
Nope. I saw the wellness thing with the heart, and I thought maybe that was how you could like. Yeah, never mind. Just disregard that. It
No,
was
no, you're good. All right, so let me see. Like, I'll be like, show me where I can add these people. Right?
there might be a problem too, where what if the function of liking them, what if it's in white, so we can't even see that?
Hey, by the way, that's a really good way. So one test for that, if you want to be a little fancy, okay, is you go back to the developer tab, and again, if you're non-technical, there's no coding here. It's just like knowing what to do. Assuming we sign in, I think I forgot my username. Oh, we're good.
Nice.
Cool. Killing it. So if you go to user tab here, and back to developer. There's a really cool tool. It's called like this little thing here on the top left. It lets you hover over and see if there's an element there. So if I go on
Mm,
the card, I can physically see this is all I have. Like I have a little X button, right? And there's nothing else. So even if you think
got it.
there's invisible ink, this is a quick way to make sure that's not there. So let's get out of here. All right, so there's some error, and I just want to see what's going on. The function is already integrated, but it seems to be more visible in the UI. It seems to be okay. Well, it's not visible at all. All right. So one thing that Lovable does, which I find very interesting, is at times it offers to do what's called refactoring your code, which means take your long code that's now built up over the entire chat session and lean it down into more piece parts. So that is actually good practice, especially if you want to use this to actually build an app to deploy, to use this function to make sure you keep everything as lean as possible, which will help you, move and be more nimble with your changes. So just one little note there. So as I go down here, okay, so
Huh?
oh,
Are you?
this is interesting.
Please tell me that has not been down there this whole time.
If it is,
I
I'm
don't.
super embarrassed. Wait, hold on. We could tell, but
Oh yeah, I guess we wouldn't have been able to.
yeah. So it is what it
We
is. We'll
would
act
have
like it's
seen it.
just added right now. But so if we go down, similar to LinkedIn, it's kind of like an add to network, and it has their actual goals associated. So I think it actually did a better job than I did. So it's secluded goals from individual people. So I can actually add Maria, right? And now I can't
Nice.
add her again, right?
Mm.
Now,
Now you
missing.
just need to get it populated in your network.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So we're making progress here. So now one thing I want to see is again, as a non-technical person, you just want to make sure that when you're clicking things, it is adding somewhere. So we had that table, right? That updates people that are shortlisted. Is that being updated? If not, this is only visually working. It's not functionally working.
Right.
So let's go back. We go back to shortlist and refresh. Is there someone there? Is there a record?
Nice.
Perfect. So that means
There we go.
it's not just smoke and mirrors. So this is working. It's just not populating I want to name it exactly what it's called. Oh, never mind. I think there's a bit of a lag. So you can see Maria's
Must
here.
be.
Maria's here, and
Nice.
you can actually remove her. So one thing I'm curious about, can you add fake images for all the users? I think you use Unsplash. And I'm only asking this question again to prod it to use that API. Should it actually be using it, which I think it does.
Right.
Otherwise, it should use whatever it's at its disposal. But we've made a lot of progress so far. We went from just setting up a static goal to making it an AI-powered goal to making it auto-tagged to making fake profiles, categories, and then filtering, which is awesome.
And then also showing the percentage match of the categories, which it might not be 100% perfect here, but I think the fact that it shows 84% match there is pretty cool. And I bet with just some basic prompting, with using the ChatGPT, we'd be able to get that set up, which we probably won't have the time for in this video, but
Yeah, exactly. So at least it's being thoughtful in terms of what we're trying to do.
right.
So it said I've added a selection of Unsplash images, and there you go. You have some very
Nice.
random images. The one thing I'm noticing though is we have some doubles.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's adding someone's like someone typing. So, I noticed we have duplicate images for users. Each should be individual, and each should be an actual person. And then I'm gonna roast it in private. It shouldn't be a chip or someone typing.
And we're just getting real nitpicky with it now because if we were to go in and make actual profiles ourselves and we uploaded our own
Avatar, yeah.
image, we wouldn't have this issue. This is just for the sake of the video to make things look pretty. But
Exactly. And also just
it is nice just being able to walk people through, because whether or not this is something that they need to see exactly how to do all these little things, they get to see what's going through your like our brain while trying to fix these problems, which I think they'll get value in regardless. So it's like, oh, there you go. That looks good.
there we
Nice.
go.
We're
So
looking like a
now,
real social media app,
there you
Mark. Look at
go.
this.
Let's go raise $200 billion and lose money. Let's do
Yeah.
it. Let's do
And
it.
just call it AI powered and we're good.
Done. So let me
Done.
ultimate test. Let me refresh the page here. I should still have Maria. There we go.
Nice.
Yep. There we go. And let me go down here. Now Maria seems to have, no comment on there, but so we'll keep on trucking along. So we made good progress.
Looks like the reason that probably she doesn't have her profile picture populated in the your network part is probably because you added that before, the we got the actual profile picture there or something. So
Amazing. You just caught it. So let's say make sure. And what's here? Let me pop quiz you. What was that word that when I was creating the sign up would allow the profile to take the name that you entered on sign up? It was a keyword.
inherit.
Perfect. So make sure to inherit the profile. Let's zoom in here for folks. Profile picture on the list and add it to the shortlisted network. And let me just reinforce this by zooming out. And then let me take a picture. And let me just add Maria. Notice how Maria is blank under your network. So this should drive the point home pretty well. And
Yeah.
what I noticed is that when it comes to UI changes with no backend stuff, it does a really good job. It's when it's database related where you have some problems.
Right. And a lot of that too is just not having the knowledge of how those things even tie together as the person using the thing, know.
Yeah. So I'll just clean up some of our tabs here while we're
After this, what do you say? I don't know how much more functionality we need to add to this. I feel like we should just go add some Stripe, show how we could connect that, unless there's any small features or something you think, like, I don't know.
No, I think it's time for the king of Stripe integration to really shine here on his own channel and just show us how it's done. Okay, awesome. So I won't dwell over this. You can see Maria here has got an M, but she should get her picture. I could dwell on that, but we'll not do that for now. Cool. So, Mr. Stripe Master, please guide me through what needs to be done.
Oh yeah, it's so difficult. Literally just ask, help me add Stripe.
Help me add Stripe. So hold on, how do we want to monetize this? We didn't even ask the big picture question.
What do you mean? Should we charge just like $300,000 to use it?
Well, do you want to is there a goal limit? Do you want to make it complicated or just hey, it's $5 a month to use this tool?
Just to make it easy. Would it be cool to add a goal limit, or is that getting a little too difficult?
How long do you want to stay here with me?
Let's just say if you want to use the app, you sign up. Let's do that.
Let's make that simple. Okay,
for the sake of it.
Help me add Stripe.
All right, and then what it'll do, it'll show you the steps that you need to do. It'll show you what you've already done. So obviously, Supabase project set up, already connected, authentication. Now we just need to start where it says Stripe account and product. So we need to set that up. Stripe secret key, Stripe price ID. Okay, so go to your Stripe account.
Okay.
Or Stripe test. Go to test mode, top right.
Yeah.
So make sure you're in test mode. So now this is just like dummy information. Then let's go to, go back to Lovable and see what it says. I forget exactly where.
Oh, let's put this side by side. Okay.
Stripe account, product. Okay, so just go back to Stripe.
Yep.
Create a product link. So you'd probably go over to
product catalog.
Product catalog. Yep. Create new product.
All right. Goal subscription.
And then go down. Let's make it recurring. You can make it one-off if you want. Yeah, add some form of price.
$1 Canadian. Yep.
Steal, first of all.
Yeah.
Yep. Add product. And then what you'll do, click on it.
Yep.
And then go to the pricing. Click on the price. Nope. Yep, right there.
Yep.
And then top right where it says price, that little string of numbers and stuff right there.
Yeah.
Bring it over and then just say, this is my price ID.
Okay. Next.
Send that, and then it's probably going to ask you for your Stripe API key, and it might add that text block there. So I'd start with that.
All right. So how do I get this key? Developer. I have to go to my real developer.
Bottom left, developer.
All right. We go.
Very bottom left. Yeah. Which this might just be fake API keys, but regardless,
Okay. Let's add this key here.
Okay, so it looks like now just like type in that, paste that message in with the price ID since it's asking for that.
So that's.
I mean, this is all stuff that it could have walked you through. I'm not teaching you anything new.
No, it's all good. I need that.
I've just done it before. Yeah.
Why Supabase is a great database to use for these apps and SaaS in general is unlike a normal database, you can do something called an edge function, which lets you do things automatically integrated directly in the database. So it's instead of creating some form of API or endpoint that you hit, it now becomes a part of your whole database environment. And what's cool about Lovable is it's smart enough to build these functions, to do these actions, and it's all living in the same ecosystem. So that's the whole point of an edge function.
Right. So essentially, we could check that somebody actually has a subscription and tie that to their account in the database in Supabase and make sure that you're not just giving anybody access to the app.
Exactly. So on my channel, I did like a 1-hour tutorial on Bolt where I spent 2 weeks to build the most random make automation to try to do what this does natively. So this is way easier.
Right.
So let's see here. Okay, it looks like we're good. Or what's next?
Probably, I guess what you need to do, just maybe sign out and then try to sign back in and see if.
Okay.
Right, because I think we have everything we need. We have price ID, added the Stripe.
Well, we need a way to sign up for that subscription, right?
True. Yep. I guess we need some form of UI component or something.
We need to add payment to the product. If you don't pay, you can't use it at all. No free trial. And obviously, the reason why I'm not doing free trial is then we'd have to store in a brand new database table or a new row.
Yeah.
Is this person free or paid? How many times have they used the thing? Have they used 5 credits? Is the UI sending that message? So all of these things have all these convoluted steps. It's doable.
Right.
It's doable.
Yeah.
Just more steps.
And we've already gone further in this video than we kind of initially thought. So
yeah,
I think leaving it at this will be good.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, if you guys are interested, maybe I'll cover that in another video.
Right. So we have this upgrade to Pro thing here.
Oh, one thing to mention, Mark, it will not work unless you publish it and you use it in the actual browser. So right here, especially for the audience as well, this will not load. It looks like it's loading Stripe. So this won't work unless we publish our application, which might as well, or yeah, try this as well.
So let's see. So you should see the subscribe to Pro thing here. Okay.
Okay, there you go. So that's working.
Got it.
And if you want to test it out, just put in some dummy information there.
There is like a test credit card I've seen. So
yeah, 4242
Stripe credit card.
Yeah.
Okay.
So essentially, this is because in Stripe we added it to test mode. If you want all this to run smoothly and actually integrate your real Stripe and collect actual payments, you'd turn Stripe or turn test mode off, and then that way you could actually start collecting real payments. But yeah, as you can see, Mark is just copying and pasting some dummy card information here to see if the payments,
Yeah, Mark's struggling to copy paste. Yeah, 1234.
You could use anything, Mark. It just needs to make sure it's not a date in the past.
Got you. So I just do 1, 2, 3 here.
Yeah, just whatever.
Cool. Mark. All right. I gotta put a
postal code and then your phone number.
Fine.
Just put it whatever.
All right, so
okay, processing
information. It just one little tip for the audience is we thought it wasn't working because it was grayed out, but it turns out like grayed out means you're good. And in this case, we should have made our solid $1 of revenue.
Yeah, if you want to go back, go to Stripe, and then you could. Let's double check that it's working here.
Yeah, so
there we go. Yes.
We can basically both stop doing YouTube and retire full time because we made our $1 Canadian, which is like 5 cents US, and then
let's go.
Let's go. So that's how we do Stripes, and that's all thanks to you, Mr. Master.
Cool. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of it, right? We kind of got everything set up that we want. Really, we just wanted to build something from scratch, showing how you could use different databases. We kind of set up even our own little algorithm a little bit using AI inside of Supabase and Lovable. But yeah, this kind of dragged on a bit longer than we thought because we ran into a couple small little errors. But you know, a lot of that's kind of just like a user error and us like, you know, literally doing this from scratch. So. With a little bit more planning, you might be able to do it a little bit better than us. But I mean, you never know. But yeah, Mark, I appreciate you hopping on. This was fun.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And then where you guys would want to go, just maybe you want to click on deploy. You can add your own custom domain in Netlify. That's all things that Brock has kindly done on his channel. So hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you could see the whole process and the thought pattern, and you can start building some really cool apps in 2025.
Yeah, 100%. And if you guys want more content like this, make sure to subscribe to Mark. He's got an awesome channel where he's just very good at breaking things down because he knows a lot more as far as like in-depth AI stuff. I'm very non-technical. He really dives deep into things and is great at explaining it. So I rely on him a lot for him explaining certain things to me, so I can only give back and, you know, give him a shout out for, you know, him hopping on the channel. So Mark, I'll see you in 2 weeks in Thailand, but I appreciate it, man.
All right.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Appreciate it. Cheers.